This, my friends, is one of the most common opening setups you will see in your games. It's the 4 knights variation. And in today's video, I'll show you a really tricky and fun gambit that you can play as white in this very opening. I have a lot of amazing tricks and traps to show you, but before starting off, I would like to thank BetterHelp for sponsoring this video. Alright, now this looks like a boring symmetrical position, but that's not how chess is supposed to be. So let's spice it up with the crazy looking move, knight takes on e5. This is our Halloween Gambit. Now hold on, I know you're concerned about just gifting away your knight for free, but trust me, this is actually a great opening to play, especially in faster time controls. In fact, the data proves it. Look at this, white actually has the best win percentage after playing knight takes on e5. And it's much better than all these common moves like bishop c4 or even d3. Okay, so what after black takes your knight? Well, as I told you, we'll gain tempo by attacking the knights, so d4. And now black has two main options, knight to c6 or knight to g6. By the way, going to g4 doesn't make sense because after e5, it's a double attack and black loses one of his knights. So in this position, black wants to hold on to this material advantage, and that's why he will retreat to one of these two squares. First, let's look at knight c6. We start with d5, hitting the knight. Again, he has a few options to run. Knight e7 isn't that great because after a few more pawn moves, we are constantly chasing the knight. And ultimately, after this queen e2 check, he has to sacrifice the bishop or the knight. So knight e7 doesn't quite work for black. Therefore, black is left with these two options. Let's look at the most common move, that is knight to e5. This time, you'll attack with the f pawn. Knight g6 is the best he can do, and now we threaten the other knight. Just see how smartly we are pushing him back and gaining all the space in the center. It's all about the pawns in the Halloween Gambit, so keep that in mind. Unfortunately, he will have to underdevelop his knight. Even if he tries to pin with the queen, you can simply do the same, and eventually he will have to retreat the knight. So anyway, after e5, most players would just back off right away. And now that you have advanced so far, it's time to nail down your opponent by pushing even further. Takes, and just look at this pawn. It's completely strangulating black and he is helpless. If he plays a normal development move like knight f6, we have a check and black loses material. So he has to be careful about this check, and that's the reason why he'll try to make space for his king. So the two most common responses you will see are queen b6 and queen f6. If queen b6, we'll get our knight closer, eyeing down this c7 fork, and also we are adding another defender to this pawn. Look, this knight b5 move is going to be a common theme in many variations, so just keep that in mind. Okay, now black has to prevent the fork, so king d8 seems the most logical response, and we just continue attacking with our pawns. By the way, if he moves to h4, then the knight is gone. So the most popular response is knight e5, and again, just develop with tempo. Don't give him time to even think of an attack. Most probably he will try to defend with f6. You can just move your queen, stay connected to this pawn and look to castle. Now if he tries something like a6, trying to push back the knight and grab this pawn, you have the bishop going after the queen. And after the queen moves, black is in trouble because queen a5 check, then knight c7 check, and the rook is gone. Even though you lose the pawn, it's still a great game to play as white. You can bring out the knight, castle on the queen side, and black is still struggling with a vulnerable king. And all these pieces are just chilling on the back rank. Okay, let's go back. So this is how you can play against queen b6. Now what if he goes for queen f6? He's applying pressure on both these pawns, so playing knight b5 straight away can be a little risky because there is this variation where if he finds this brilliant move, knight f4, then you might land up in trouble. Even though you manage to pick up the rook, your king is exposed and black can take advantage with his queen and knight. He can bring in his bishops as well, which can be quite uncomfortable to deal with. Therefore, in this position, when the queen comes to f6, I would suggest you begin with a check. And after he blocks, then you can continue with your plan of knight b5. Even if he exchanges the queens, you still have this double attack, so he has to move the king. And now you can target this pawn with bishop e3. If he plays b6, you can castle on the king side, control this file with your rook, keep pushing the pawns, and of course you still have this really strong pawn which is always going to suffocate black. By the way, instead of moving this pawn, there are high chances that your opponent might go for a6. He's trying to push back this knight so that he can pick up this pawn. But then you can completely destroy him with one check after another. Eventually, you pick up the rook and just keep moving back and forth, picking up these pawns, and you should be easily winning it from here. It's such a great feeling to smash your opponent like this. In fact, there's one more thing that makes me even more happy, and that's your like. So please guys, do hit that like button below this video right now. Okay, now let's go back. After d5, we just looked at all the options after black plays knight e5. But what if he goes back to b8? Well, our plan remains the same. Just go after the knight, push him back, advance further, exchange the pawns, and just tie him down with this pawn. He tries to make space for the king. Again, knight b5 is the key move. And here, if he tries something like knight a6, that's a terrible square for the knight. You can develop this bishop, then bring out the other one, and it starts getting really uncomfortable for black. Black is paralyzed. He can't move any of these pieces. On the other hand, you can simply castle and attack with your entire army. The engine gives white almost a 5-point advantage in this position. That's the power of the Halloween Gambit. But how do you counter the Halloween Gambit as black? Well, I'll show you the best strategies for black as well. But before moving on, I would like to thank BetterHelp for sponsoring this video. Guys, just like an intense chess game, life can also be very stressful. Whenever I am in a stressful or anxious situation, I try to distract myself. But most of the times your thoughts are not in your control. That's when you need the help of a professional therapist who can take care of your mental health. Finding the right therapist can be a daunting experience, but BetterHelp makes it very easy for you. Well, BetterHelp is an amazing online platform where you can seek therapy at your own convenience. It's online, it's remote, and just by answering a few questions, you get matched to a suitable professional therapist. The best part is that if you don't really get along with that therapist, you can even switch to a new one at no additional cost. So basically, BetterHelp wants to make therapy more affordable and more accessible so that you can start living a happy and healthy life. It's really easy to sign up. All you need to do is go to this link, betterhelp.com/chesstalk. That's better, HELP. And using this link, you'll get 10% off on your first month. Link is in the description box below, so do check it out. Okay, so e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6. We arrive at the 4 knights opening. And now in the Halloween Gambit, we sacrifice the knight and then attack with d4. Earlier, we saw all the main lines where the black knight moves to c6. Now let's look at some ideas when he goes to g6. We begin with e5, harassing the knight. He can't go here because of our knight. We also have the queen covering these two squares, so going back is his only option. And here, the engine recommends developing with bishop c4, but the move I like to play is queen to f3, because this is something that can really surprise your opponent. The most common response you will see is d6, and now you can bring out the bishop and apply pressure on this f7 square. If he tries to defend with his queen, you can just play normally and build pressure with all your pieces. But instead of the queen, in this position, you'll find many people playing bishop e6, offering an exchange. But you have a tricky little line here. First, pick up this pawn, and if he takes your bishop, don't worry, we have this sneaky little queen check. So eventually you get the bishop as well. And not only this, if he tries to be greedy and picks up these pawns, then he is gone. We have queen e4, pinning the knight, and black is actually in deep trouble. Even if he defends like this, we have f4 and ultimately the knight will be knocked out. Okay, so after you play queen f3, d6 is the most popular response that we already saw. Another common move that black plays is developing the bishop and pinning the knight. In this case, you'll have bishop c4 as usual, hitting on f7. Queen e7 is what most people play. Now you can just castle. He exchanges the bishop for the knight. And now just look at this pawn structure. All our pieces are ready to jump in. We control all these squares in the center, and it's really difficult to play this as black. I mean, just look at all these pieces. They are absolutely redundant. And I don't see them doing much, at least for the next few moves. After looking at all these lines, obviously, the big question is, how do you counter this scary opening when you're playing as black? Well, after d4, the knight can go back both ways, but I highly recommend you go back to g6 because knight c6 gives white exactly what he wants. Just count the number of tempos that white is scoring. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 tempos in a row on the black knights, and white is building this incredibly strong center. So don't play like this. Instead of going this way, let's go to g6. Now it's only one knight that they can go after. Unfortunately, we have to drop back once, but that's not a problem. And let's say white plays queen f3. Now here comes the moment where you need to fight back and stop white from gaining the initiative. Well, let me give you a simple tip here that will help you counter many such opening sacrifices. Look, whenever you're significantly ahead in material and your opponent starts to get a lot of activity, the best way to deal with such tricky gambits is to give back some of the material in order to reduce his initiative. I know you want to hold on to this extra knight, but you'll have to at least give something back in return. So this is the time where you need to sacrifice some material, and that's why I suggest you play the move d5. Let him just take this pawn. Capturing en passant isn't that great for white because you get the bishops out, and that's not what they want. So after d5, they'll most probably capture with the queen. You can simply go for the exchange and at least you've got some space to breathe. Now since knight c7 is the main threat, you'll move the king and the game goes on. Even though white has these two annoying pawns in the middle, you still have extra material. So I would say that this is even Stevens and it's all about playing it well from here. Now just in case, in this position, instead of the queen, even if he brings out the bishop, you'll still play d5. White has to waste a move by taking the pawn, and now you gain a tempo by attacking the bishop. When he runs back, you can simply develop and neutralize his attack on f7. More importantly, you take over the control of this d5 square. Later on, you can also bring out the knight, slowly develop your pieces, and this in fact looks even better for black as you can still castle any side and there are no immediate threats as such. So that's like an easy to remember strategy to play against the Halloween Gambit. Alright, so it's puzzle time. In this position, it is white's turn and you need to find the best move for white. Share your answers in the comments. Let's see how many of you get this right. Guys, do subscribe to the channel and I shall see you in the next one.